Hey, everybody. So we are back here. It's our Friday session. This week, we spent a lot of time talking about lead generation and getting into business and being more focused on dollar productive activities. So I wanted to bring back this class today on prospecting and what it means, what it looks like, things like that. So we're going to jump right into it. Okay. We did this in coaching this week. If you guys were not there, there's 4 very important questions that we need to be working on all the time. So, what did you do for lead generation in the last 7 days? And you can write this down. I printed it out for a lot of people this week. But what did you do to lead generate in the last 7 days? The second question, and I do bring this up a lot, is what did you take away from it? What worked? What didn't work? What was something that you noticed, something that you really put to scale? The third thing is, what was the most difficult part? And when I say most difficult, what did you not like about it, right? And the last thing is, what are you going to do differently in the next 24 hours or in the next 7 days, whatever that looks like in your schedule? This is important. This really honestly is important to look at what you're doing, see what's working, see what you don't like to do, and then make a change. If we do the same thing over and over again and it's not working for us, we don't make money. Right? So these are some questions you should be asking yourself. It's something you should be doing on a regular basis. I really encourage you to work on it. All right. So marketing versus prospecting. We have to do both, right? So prospecting is going out and finding money, going out and finding deals. It's grabbing something. That's the conversation, the phone call, the actual thing. Marketing is where we're trying to attract business to us. Okay. So you do have to do both, but which one do you think generates better results? Prospecting, right? So marketing, we attract people to us. That's great. It's something that we do. Prospecting, you're grabbing something, right? Why do agents have a tendency to fall into marketing more? What do you think? It's easier, right? There's a lot less rejection. There's a lot less worry. There's a lot less things like that. So if I send out a mailer, there's nobody's going to tell me to stop calling them or stop sending them stuff most of the time, sometimes. But for the most part, marketing is easier to do. The thing is, it doesn't have direct results as quick. So we want instant gratification, but then we focus on the thing that takes longer. So that's why I want to bring this up today, is that we have to get into the prospecting side of things right now, especially in this market. Again, prospecting is seeking leads, marketing is attracting leads. Either way, we're pulling people in, but this one happens right away. This one may happen, right, at some point. Okay. So what is it? Prospecting and marketing. We're always trying to get people that we have not met. So haven't met, people we don't know, people we never talked to become people that we met. But the end goal of either one of these is always the appointment. And again, we talked about this in coaching this week a lot. Our goal is always to get an appointment, get in the door. When you're making a cold call, you're calling a for sale by owner, you're calling an expired, you're calling any of these people. Your goal is not, hey, I'm going to sell your house over the phone. Your goal is, I'm going to get into your house and sit down and meet you and talk to you. It's much, much harder to say no to somebody when I'm looking at you than it is to hang up a phone. Okay. So the end goal of this is always the appointment. Don't forget that. It's important. So, like I said, we have to do both. So your emphasis, you should always be prospecting based and marketing enhanced. Meaning that when we look into our lead generation, because we throw that term around so much and everyone forgets, lead generation is a combination of both of these things, right? And lead generation is just that, creating new leads, creating new business, finding people to speak to, okay? So if we're prospecting based, meaning that we're spending 80% of our time grabbing new business, grabbing new people, having conversations, talking to people, and then we spend 20% of our time marketing, setting things out, social media, setting mailers out, stuff along those lines, billboards, blah, blah, blah. That's the way a successful business is really run. That's the way that you want to do it. So we want to be actively grabbing people and then sending things out on the side too, because it comes through. Okay. So your prospecting has to reinforce your marketing. And what that means is that when you're calling people, and it goes both ways, marketing supports your prospecting. It's nice to send out a mailer. So I send out the mailer and then I call them and say, hey, did you get my mailer? Do both. Follow up, right? The reason why marketing is important, if you back it up with prospecting, is now they know your face, right? Do you guys have anybody in your world that you could actually identify that you've never met? Probably a lot, right? It makes me think of the idea of like the Bed Bath & Beyond coupons, right? You always got it. I don't care if you've never been to a Bed Bath & Beyond. You know what it is because they sent you a coupon every week forever. So if you were that and you were sending something out, but then you followed it up with a phone call, you're much more likely to succeed. Does that make sense? So let them support each other. Anytime you guys are doing a post and somebody comments, you need to answer back. Anytime you send out a mailer, you need to call the people that you mailed it to and say, hey, I'm just not sure if you got my mail, right? Door knocking, same kind of idea. So make sure that you're supporting both in the puzzle. Cost versus time and effort. This is an interesting subject, and it's really important to me because what's more valuable, spending money or spending time? Time, right? I would think, right? So if I spend $1,000 to mail something out, right? Will I get the return that I want? And if I spend whatever 100 hours doing something, will I get the return? So think about this. Prospecting is the cost is minimal or nothing realistically. The reason why I have minimal in that box is because if you pay for a dialer, something like that, that's part of it, right? Not that expensive. Time and effort is maximum. So I'm putting in my time to make money directly. It goes the other way with marketing. So marketing could be unaffordable, right? I've seen a lot of people that spend a fortune on marketing. It always makes you think of the billboards and stuff. The billboards crack me up. No offense to anyone who has a billboard, but I've never been in my car and drove by a billboard and said, "Oh, let me coach again," while I'm driving, right? So it could be unaffordable. It goes through, but it's mind share, so it is still important. The time and effort is minimal. That's why people do it. So when we get into the mindset of it, it's a lot easier for us to do a post or to do a billboard and do something like that because the effort's minimal, right? And the rejection is minimal. So focused, we need to be prospecting based because the time and effort is maximum. I always tell everybody your goal, you should be doing 15 hours of lead generation in a 7-day period. Okay. Sounds like a lot, but if you want to make money, that's what you need to be doing. So the effort and the time is maximum, costs you almost nothing. Like I said, with the exception of paying for a dialer or something like that, okay, or a lead source. So myths and truths. 1, prospecting equals cold calling equals rejection. This is the idea that we all have, is that I look and I say, okay, when Blake says prospecting, he means I have to cold call people. And they're going to say no, and I don't know what to say, and it's going to be terrible, and it's going to hate it. So what do? You go to brunch. Right? It's a myth. Prospecting equals meeting people and building purposeful business relationships. So the idea is that when you're prospecting, I need to talk to humans. I need to talk to people. So that doesn't mean it has to be a cold call. Me personally, I love cold calling. I don't know, I'm weird like that, but it was always how I made my money. I liked it. But prospecting is meeting people and talking about work, saying something about real estate. We are blessed. We had one of the best things happen in the world over the last couple years, and it was called HGTV. So HGTV got on the air. Everybody in the known world watches it. And it means that when you say that you're in real estate, everybody else feels like they're in real estate because they watch it 4 hours a day at night. So they say, oh my God, I love that. Oh, how's the market? Right? It always goes there. So having a conversation and mentioning work became a lot easier over the last few years because people started to get integrated with the idea of real estate through open TV shows and stuff like that. But again, that's the myth, is that when I tell you guys you need to prospect, your brain immediately goes to the fact, okay, he wants me to call for sale by owners, make 100 calls a day, right? It's not necessarily always that way. That would be wonderful, but it's not always that way. You want to build a relationship, okay? Number 2, prospecting means contacting people you don't know. Again, that's not necessarily correct. It's contacting anybody. It's having a conversation. It's having a talk. One of the biggest kind of limiting beliefs is people will say to me, oh, they know I'm in real estate, right? Do they remember? Are they going to use you? These are different conversations, goes a little bit further. Or I'll tell you guys one of my personal ones. Coming into the business, one of mine was always, my friends they don't have any money. They're po. They got no money. So why would I call them? Another thing they have is parents, uncles, aunts, friends, bosses, things like that. So we say prospect means only contact people you don't know. You forget that we have one of the biggest databases in the world right here. It's in your pocket. Call the people that you know, reach out. Okay. And your script or your conversation goes very much like this. Hey, Tom, what's going on? I haven't talked to you in forever. How have you been? And you're going to say, great, good. I've been blah, 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 whatever. And I'm going to say, most times I'll say, how have you been? And I'll say, oh, Tom, I've been running around all over the state. I'm selling houses all over New Jersey. I've been so busy with Remax. It's been so crazy. It's a great time. It's a great time to buy and sell. So I've just been crazy busy. And they'll say, oh, I didn't know you were in real estate. And you say, yeah, I end the conversation with, hey, if you ever need anything, just let me know. Or anybody who ever needs anything, just give them my information, all right? It's an easy enough conversation. So the myth is that it's just cold calling. It's just reaching out to people you don't know, when most of your money will sit right here in your phone, on your Facebook, on your Instagram, right? You guys have a farther reach than you know. But if you don't try, it doesn't work. Third one, prospecting is what you do to launch your business. Only new agents have to prospect. If you guys ever said this out loud, I would shoot you with a Nerf gun immediately. It's prospecting and diamonds are forever, right? It's things that we have to do. You have to find your niche and get good at prospecting business, or else you're going to end up being one of the people that we lose in this industry this year, right? So if you're not spending time on prospecting and pulling business in and getting new people to talk to and having new conversations, you can't sit back and rely on, oh, well, the market's bad. No, your prospecting is bad, right? We can make an excuse for anything in the world. This is never going to be an excuse. So are you putting in 15 hours generating new leads, generating prospects? If you're not, then it's not real. It's going to happen forever. That's how you grow. That's how we continue moving forward in this industry. Even this goes back to kind of a different point, that a lot of people, agents that have been around a while, start to get comfy. Oh, well, I do silver every year. Don't you want to grow? Don't you want that gold, that platinum? Don't you want to grow? It's that. So you have to examine what you're doing. Everything stems from this. Who are you talking to? How many people are you talking to? That's where it comes from. Okay. All right. So prospecting, the statistics, who already has an agent? What do you guys feel about these numbers? Confused face. So 22% of sellers already have a real estate agent. That's it. And this is from NAR, right? Meaning that we have a large gap of people who don't. There was a talk the other day that we had in the office, and they were saying that most people lead into the internet to find somebody. So 22%, again, it runs through the limiting belief of, oh, well, I'm not going to bother because they already know an agent. Their cousin's an agent, their brother's an agent, their friend's an agent, right? Everybody was born with a real estate friend and a birth certificate. That's it. So only 22% of people have made up their mind or have a seller's agent that they're going to work with. That leaves a big gap for us. So again, this is about the way that you look at things. And then only 12% of buyers have an agent that they're going to work with. Everyone else is going online to find one. They're calling the person from Zillow. They're calling the person from Realtor.com. They're, reaching out like that. So that's something to really think about, is that our gap is that even if I work with you and I sold Tom a house 5 years ago, and he's deciding to sell, if I didn't stay in touch, he's not on this list. He's not going to call me back. He's not going to remember, right? So it's about staying in touch. It's about how many people have already decided, and it's very few, okay? So only 4% of buyers use the agent who contacted them, meaning they reached out. Buyers and sellers, actually, it's even. Use somebody who contacted them, meaning that if I call Kathy and then I say, hey, I would love to help you find a house, you'd be like, I don't know you, right? Only 4%. The biggest number here in this chart is use an agent who was referred to them by a friend, relative, or neighbor. So if you're sitting and having lunch with a friend and they say, I was thinking about buying a shore house, how many people in your world would say, oh my God, you have to call Blake. He'll take care of you, right? Why do you think this number jumps so high? A referral number. Why do you think it jumps so high? Trust. It's track record, trust. It's also that they don't want to let the person down that referred them, right? So if Tom, sorry, you're just sitting right here. It's going to be you all day. If Tom refers a personal trainer to me, I'm going to go, even if I'm not sure about the personal trainer, I'm going to still keep going because I don't want to let Tom down. It ties it in. And I talked about this week with the vendors too. So when you have somebody working with your mortgage person, your title person, your all of those things, it's a team. So the client doesn't want to let anybody in the team down. So if Emily sends me somebody, I'm going to be confident that that person won't go cheat on me, because then they have to tell Emily I cheated on your friend, right? Referrals are the highest percentage of closings. So you have to ask yourself an important question. Who in your world is referring you? And if you can't think of anybody, now you have homework, right? The last one here is use the same agent they used before. These percentages, honestly, I think should be lower. The only time that these numbers could even be relatively this well is if you stayed in touch and you use your KV Core, use your database, and you actually follow through with people. You call every couple months, you send the holiday cards, you do all that kind of stuff. That's the only time you'll get repeat business, is if you stay in touch. If you drop the ball on that, guess what? They're going to call me. They're going to call Jeff. They're going to call somebody else. It's a thing. So I just did that. Prospecting, some of the things, these are the key points of why we do it. It's inexpensive and it yields immediate results. Who here likes instant gratification? Right? Have you ever had a phone call or had something that resulted in an immediate appointment? Yeah, right? So I call somebody and I say, hey, I want to sell the house. We do the spiel, we do the whole script practice, everything that we do, we get through it. And they say, you know what, fine, come over tomorrow morning at 12 and we'll talk about it. Did you want to get up and do a cartwheel and run through the wall and jump up and down and celebrate, right? That can happen right away. If I send out a mailer and I drop it off at the post office, do you have that same feeling? No. Maybe when it comes in, That's wonderful. But it gives immediate results. That's something. It puts you in control of filling your pipeline. This is something that right now in this market, we have to keep in mind. You guys need to be working 2 months in the future at any given point, right? The work that you do today, the prospecting you do today is going to be your paycheck in 2 months from now, right? By the time we list, get under contract, gets closing, go through everything, that's your paycheck for later. So you have to look in the pipeline. If you look and we have 4 deals closing this month, woohoo, that's amazing. But now we have nothing under contract, we have nothing moving forward. Is it a problem? Yeah. It creates the roller coaster, right? That we're having filet mignon and then ramen noodles, then filet mignon, then ramen noodles. We don't want to do that. And some people are laughing because I know y'all been there. This happens. It increases your confidence and skills. This is something, guys, you have to get this fear out of your mind around reaching out to people and having conversations. One, our scripts are not BS because we really can help people. And in this market, odds are we can get them more money if they work with us than if they do not. Okay. Can they get an offer on Zillow? Sure. Can they get 35 offers on Zillow? Probably not. If I put a property in front of 20,000 agents, am I going to get a better result than you throwing it on Zillow? Probably. So you have confidence in your skills. Every time you make a phone call, and I say this all the time, you need to write down what threw you off, what made you feel weird. Nobody's perfect, ever, right? So somebody says something that makes you go, okay, bye. You write that down and we talk about it in coaching, right? We can go through it. So when you're having a conversation or a meeting with somebody and somebody throws you, you need to write this kind of stuff down. On the back end, you always should be asking for feedback. You on a listing appointment, they tell you, oh, I decided to list with Tom. I'll say, not Tom. No, I'm just kidding. I would go back and say, hey, you know, honestly, that's great. And congratulations. I'll keep it in mind. I'll bring some buyers. But let me ask you a question. What could I have done differently to make you pick me? Or what did Tom do better to make you decide to work with him, just for my own education? We grow. You grow in your confidence. You grow in your skills. So next time, you know, okay? That's a big thing. Yields quality leads, which yields quality leads. That sentence sounds silly, but it's so true. When you work with somebody and you do a great job, they give you other people, right? So when you work with a quality lead, it gives you more quality leads. It should be your biggest lead source. We get caught up on this idea of paying for services or doing this or doing that. It's so simple. Do good by people and they'll tell other people to go work with you, right? Ta-da. And it keeps you in direct contact with the market and prospects against market shifts. What this means is that if you guys are out in the field and you're constantly talking to people, you're going to understand what they want, what they need, what's going on. It's the idea that I can go, if I'm constantly prospecting, I can tell you that people are looking for homes in the $300,000 to $500,000 range, and houses that are over $1 million are slowing down. I'm not saying that's exactly true. It's an example. But it's that idea, is that it lets you know what's going on in the market and it shows you where to target things. So if I know that from my prospecting, people are saying, oh, well, I want this, I want this, I want this, and you're hearing it over and over again, now I know what to focus on, right? I know who to reach out to. I know what to look for, okay? 3 things. We're going to approach, connect, and ask. So approach. Have the right mindset. This, you guys know I talk about this a lot, but the mindset is everything. You have to be ready to make calls. Do me a favor. If you're having a fight with your boyfriend and you're mad, don't pick up the phone and be like, hi, you want to sell your house? We have to go in with the right mindset. So get ready, do a jumping jack. I don't know, run around, be happy, have the right mindset. The other thing is be proactive. I promise you guys, if you wait for people to call you, you will become a bartender shortly. It's going to happen. You have to be proactive, okay? Be willing to break the ice. Again, you know, I tell jokes and stuff like that, but how are you breaking the ice? How do you make somebody feel comfortable? One of the biggest things in the conversations with new clients is that you have to disarm the shoulders. You have to get them to calm down, right? Nobody likes a sales call. So how are we breaking the ice? How are we starting a conversation? Okay. Be friendly, caring, and most importantly, be real. I got to make this. I'd have to go back and change this to make it capital letters. Be real. Be a real person. Okay. It's important. Have you ever had a conversation? If I called you and I said, "Hi, Jeff, how are you? This is Blake Pierce giving you a call from Remax First Realty in East Brunswick. I have some exciting news for you. I'm going to be able to get you top dollar." You probably already hung up, right? It's over. Be a real person. So if I go back and call and say, "Hey, Jeff, what's going on? It's Blake from Remax. Quick question. I saw your house is for sale. Did you get any offers?" It changes it around. People don't love a sales pitch anymore. Be realistic, but still prove your point. Okay, so be real. Be curious about them and their concerns. This is huge. You ask a question and then you do what?
Listen.
Yeah, shut up and listen. Do you know how often I've had conversations with people where they ask a question and then answer their question? It's the most annoying thing in my brain. It drives me insane. So why do you think you want to sell? Because the market's really good and you could probably get a good price? I'm like, oh, do you need me for this? Or should I go? Right? So ask a question, be curious about them and their concerns. So what makes you want to move? And let it happen. They're going to give you all of the motivation that you need to build a relationship, to talk to somebody, right? Be ready to give positive feedback. Again, we do that. Be confident in your pace and posture. What do you guys think that means? This is fun. What do you think that means?
Maybe a tone of voice and the posture, like you say on the toilet making a call.
I try not to call people from the toilet. That's the thing. But yeah, you are correct. I know myself. I know I speak very quickly, right? Because I talk fast, and that's a thing. So if I sit down with somebody and I'm having a meeting with them and they say, "Hey," like, "Oh, it's a beautiful day out, isn't it?" I can't jump in and be like, "Yeah, it is. It's wonderful. It's great." So match your people, right? Match your posture. If somebody's more funny, be more funny. If somebody's more serious, be more serious. Fast, slow, all these kind of things. You have to be comfortable in your pacing and your posture because people identify with you. So when you're having this conversation at a listing appointment or even with a buyer, you want to match how they are, right? Because people tend to identify with people that are like-minded or similar. So we do that. And then again, be ready to connect. This is the only reason I put this in here is because did anyone ever have somebody just say yes and you weren't ready? I have. Absolutely. So I did one of my first cold calls I ever did. I was like, "Hi, I would like to talk to you about selling your home and I would like to come over." And they were like, "Okay." And I was like, "No, here on this sheet, it says you're supposed to say no. And then I say this, and then you say this." And then we go through the whole thing. Be ready to connect. Part of being ready to connect is not only the conversation. Do you have your presentations ready? Are you confident in your buyer's consultation presentation? Are you confident in your listing presentation? If I told you that, "Okay, Tom, come over and sell my house at 12 o'clock. We have a listing appointment at 12 o'clock. Could you be there?" And be ready. So think about that. Be ready to connect. You have to be ready to jump because sometimes people will immediately say yes. And they'll say, "Oh, well, I'm leaving the country tomorrow. If you want to come by, in an hour or two, I'll be here." Are you ready? So think about that. The other thing, connecting with somebody, again, we always act like a giver. We come from contribution. You guys are absolutely 110% the answer to a problem. When we take it back, that's what we're doing. We're going to sell the property or get them a house. We're the answer to the problem, right? So we always come from a giving place. We come from contribution is a great way to say it. Takers versus givers, people could smell that. Have you ever had somebody that only calls you a certain time that they need something and you could tell? I have an army of friends that call me every year in June because my house is by the beach. Haven't talked to them all year. They'll call me and be like, "I miss you. I want to come down and visit." I'm like, "No, you don't. You want to go to the beach." right? So when you call somebody, a client, even if it's a care call, a listing, a seller, a buyer, anything like that, make sure that you're not spilling crap, that you're not asking for things all the time. Sometimes it's great to call, and it always makes me laugh is that um, I had a coaching client and her son called her, and she was like, how much money do you need? What do you need? And he was like, no, I was just calling to check on you. And she was so shocked when she hung up the phone because he actually just called to say hi. So think about past clients. If I call, instead of calling and saying, hey, who do you know that wants to buy, sell, rent, or invest in real estate? Versus calling and saying, hey, Tom, how you been? I haven't talked to you in a while. What's going on? It's a different thing. So takers versus givers is a big thing. How to connect, reach out. Again, this is becoming more and more prevalent in our community, is that we have to start understanding how we connect with people. Some people text message, phone call, email. How are we doing it? Zoom, right? How are we talking to people? The reason why I say it's getting more important is that you're seeing shifts in who you're talking to via demographics and just people in general. A lot of people, if you email, they don't see it. They'll see it in a week and a half from now. A lot of people, if you make a phone call, they think someone died, right? If you text message, you have to watch because it doesn't give you a lot of leeway with emotion, right? So if I text you great, it could be great, or it could be great, right? So be careful. So the way that you connect, how you connect is becoming more important. And then one of my favorite models in the entire world is the Ford model. If you don't know what to ask somebody, this is your fall through, because this is 4 things that motivates every person in their entire life. It's your family, is the F, right? Most people will do anything for their family, correct? If somebody called you right now and they said, oh, something happened with your family, you would be out that door. Nothing else matters. So you ask about their family. Do they have kids? Are they retired with, older kids? It's anything, but find out about the family. Next one is occupation. That's the second one. So after your family, what do most people in the world have to do? Work, right? You have to work. So your occupation, that's big when somebody's looking to buy or sell a home. Do you need to stay within area of a train, right? Do you need an office because you work from home? Do you need these things? Our job is really the second biggest driving force in our life because it's something that everyone has to do, okay? The next one is recreation. So what does somebody do for fun? Again, once the family's safe and okay, once work's over and everything's doing good, we're okay, then what's the recreation? So party. But it's true. So it could be somebody loves to golf, somebody loves to go on vacation, somebody loves it depends what it is. Some people like to party. Some people are foodies. Some people like to have people over their house. Like I can tell you guys honestly, that's one of my biggest things. I love to throw a barbecue. Everyone come over, throw some stuff on the grill, we'll have fun, things like that. So if you're trying to sell me a house and you know that about me, you're going to say, Blake, this is a perfect spot for a grill over here. There's a nice deck. You could set up a nice couch over here and everything. It would be perfect for throwing parties. That would get me. I'd be like, you're right. So recreation, that really is a big thing. And then the last one is dreams. And this is something that people really honestly forget. Why are we doing this? So do you understand, if a buyer or a seller, what's the dream? What's their goal? Is this a first-time home buyer that's been saving up money for 5 years to put down a down payment? Is this somebody that the kids are gone and they're sad being home? I actually just had one, not to bum everybody out, but we had one that the husband passed away and she couldn't stand to be in the house anymore because it was all memories of them together. That's why she wanted to move. If you know that, that changes everything, right? Is it a family that somebody's pregnant and they need more space, right? Is it just somebody's goal that they always wanted to do? So what's the dream? What's going on? The reason why this became so prevalent is because most people, nice way to say it, this idea of the forever home kind of died off over the years, right? My parents bought a house with the intention of living there for the rest of their life. A lot of people now are buying a house that's a starter house, right? Or they're going to expand someday, or it's what they could afford right now. So knowing that becomes so important. Okay. That's important. So that's one of my favorite models. What do you guys think about that? Do you agree?
100%.
It'd be so awkward if someone said no. But these are the four driving forces that really stick with people. Right? The things that we do are either led for your family, your occupation, your recreation, or your dreams. That's very true. And the last thing here, and one of the biggest things, is to ask. We forget this. We always forget this, right? So many agents go in and have a wonderful listing presentation or a wonderful appointment or a wonderful phone call and then say, okay, let me know. No. So, Tom, what do I have to do to have you sign this paper right now? Right? Where's the close? Where's the ask? You would be shocked how many times if you actually ask for business, people will do it. Same thing, a sphere call. If I call and I say, Gareth, I haven't talked to you in forever. How's everything been? You say, great, how are you? I'm selling houses all over the place. I've been running around like crazy. Hey, listen, if you ever know anybody that needs anything, will you give them my number? If I don't ask and I just say, okay, bye. It's not going to happen. So you have to ask for the business. Ask for the appointment. Same thing on a cold call. Tom, listen, we just talked about it. I know the kids are gone. You're looking to downsize. I'm going to help you find a new house. But in the meantime, I would love to sit down and meet you in person and have a conversation. Do you have 15 minutes on tomorrow at 6 or is Saturday at 12 better? Ask. A lot of times people will say yes. If you ask for something, a lot of times people will give it to you because of any reason, because of our mind, right? So if I say, Chiquita, can I have your coffee? You might say no, right? But if I said, oh, you're making coffee, could I have one?
Yes.
You'd be like, okay. And then you end up making 2 coffees. If I just sat there and watched you make a coffee, would I get a coffee? No. So it's there, right? Ask. Give thanks. Again, we always say thank you no matter what. After every meeting, every phone call. Tom, it was great talking to you. I really had a good time. I can't wait to meet in person, right? Then we get permission to follow up. Is it cool if I call you? If they say no, 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 no. Is it cool if I call you on Friday? Today is Friday. Is it cool if I call you on Monday? Right? All right. Hey, I'm going to send you a text with some updates. Get permission. And get their, this is so silly that I had to add this, get their contact information. And when I say that, I mean all of it. So, hey, Kathleen, you know what? I have some great information I could email you. What's the best email to get you on? Get all of the information. It's important. Who to call? You guys know this. There's plenty of people to call. That's obvious. When to call? Obviously, there's different times of days, different things like that. But understand when to be calling. Know what to say. We have the scripts. It always blew my mind in the beginning in real estate because I got to a bigger company and they gave me scripts. So I was like, you guys are realistically going to tell me what to say and who to say it to. And I just have to do it. And then I spent 3 months not doing it. Right? So the question is, know what to say, get ready. We have the resources. We have nowadays, there's things all over Remax, all over YouTube, all over everywhere, okay? Be ready to call. You guys have to put yourself in a bunker. And this was a big topic this week. You have to be in a space, in a mindset to be able to call. So realistically, if I sit home in my house and I say, okay, I'm going to prospect for 3 hours, it's not humanly possible in my house. The cat comes in, the dog comes in, the Brazilian comes in, my nephew shows up, everything. There's always something, right? So make sure you can put yourself in a space that you are ready and willing and able to call. Other things that are included when we talk prospecting is obviously door knocking, pop buys, random encounters. The idea, if you guys see kind of the point going through here, it's talking or meeting with people is what we're looking for. So like I said, the myth, it doesn't have to be cold calling, but you have to find a way to speak or meet with somebody. Here's a bunch of things. So for sale by owners, expireds, farming, apartment dwellers. I really have to change that. It's a weird word. Apartment dwellers, renters, homeowners around an open house you plan to host, corporations, banks, builders, people that you know, your Mets, your Sphere, anyone that you run into anywhere, anytime. I know an agent that I used to coach. Her name is Shay, and she was the queen of that. She would turn around at a bar and say, hi, I'm Shay. Who are you? And have a whole conversation. And then she'd be like, yeah, I sell a house. You want to buy a house? Not saying you have to be that aggressive, but it's true. Anyone you meet, anywhere, anytime, have a conversation. Okay? Yeah, I promise you it'll help you. Attending, hosting events. We just had an agent do an event and had a great turnout. She got 3 really solid buyers out of it. First-time home buyers seminar, a happy hour for your past clients, right? We talked, I think it was last month, we talked about an amazing idea of having a going away party when you have a seller. I love this so much. So you have a seller that's obviously moving out, right? Saying, hey, listen, I want to throw you a going away party in your house or at a local place. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to contact all of your neighbors and tell them, like, it's Blake's going away party. Let's set it up. What do you do when you do that? You meet every homeowner in the neighborhood, and then you have a little party. Ta-da, right? No one's going to be mad. So think about an event. Open houses, obviously, we know that. Customer appreciation parties, seminars, community events. You guys right now, if you're not involved in the community where you want to work, you're crazy. You need to be at every festival, every Commerce of Chambers meeting, all that kind of stuff. Be involved in your community. You need to know the guy who owns the dry cleaner, the guy who owns the 7-Eleven, the person that owns this and that. Be involved in your community. It's going to yield you a lot of money. Again, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, 15 hours. That's all I'm going to say about that. Do it. So how do you time block it? That's a thing. When you are time blocking out your lead generation, does it have to be the same time every day? No. Does it have to be 3 hours at once? No. Things that it does have to be, no matter what, is consistent. So it has to happen. The other thing it has to be is if it gets canceled, it has to be rescheduled or replaced. Okay? What I mean by that, I'm supposed to do lead generation from 12 to 2, and then I'm going to do it 5 to 6. At 1 o'clock, I get a call. I have to go do something that's an emergency. That time does not disappear. Okay? So I only got 1 hour. So now my 5 to 6 becomes 5 to 7. It has to be replaced. 15 hours. Okay? So it's really important. Track something. This is just this silly little chart. You could make anything, Google Sheet, anything like this, but start tracking yourself. Measure your success. So how many calls have you made? How many contacts have you had? And the difference to me between a call and a contact, a call is when I dial the phone number. A contact is where I have a real conversation. How many people did I add to my database? This is easy enough to print out once a week. And starting Monday, you just put, how many calls did I make? I put per hour. You don't have to do per hour for the day. All right, so Monday, my goal was to make 50 calls. I made 57. Yay, right? This is very easy to throw on your desk, right? Put in your notebook anyway. It doesn't have to be as formal as a Google Sheet, anything like that, but start tracking it. Pay attention, because a lot of times we go in and we think we're working really, really hard, and then you find out you're not, right? So, oh my God, I was in the office from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., but I made 4 calls. But then I had lunch, I had tacos with Blake, we hung out, we walked around. Right? So track your success. All right, guys, that's pretty much the wrap up. What do you think? Tell me something that you took away from this conversation we had today.
Learning how to time block.
Learn how to time block.
Because like for me, I'm just running like crazy.
That's the thing. Some
And being committed to it too, learning how to just say no and just really writing it down, just having a real schedule.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily saying no all the time, right? But you have to treat your lead generation or your prospecting as an appointment, right? So we can't just be a dog chasing a bone all the time. You don't get anywhere because you go back and forth. So yeah, treating it like an appointment and putting it in your calendar. So if you call me and say, Blake, I want to see the house right now, I would say, hey, listen, I have another appointment, which is my lead generation. I'd be happy to take you after 2:00 today.
I love that because I
Right.
never say no to an appointment.
But say, I'll take you later. But no, honestly, it always reminds me of doctors. Every time I talk about this, it reminds me of a doctor. If I walked into my doctor and said, "You will see me now," they'd be like, "Okay, yeah, go sit over there. We'll get to you." All right. Do you have an appointment? Right. So when somebody calls, it's very rare that there's a real estate emergency. Right. It does happen every now and then. I need to get in the house right now because we're supposed to close tomorrow morning. Like stuff like that does happen. But for the most part, it's never an emergency. So you could say, hey, I have another appointment. Same way, and it's not a lie because you do. You have an appointment to lead gen. But if I had an appointment to show Jeff houses and Tom called and said, I want to see a house at 2:00 and I already had an appointment, I wouldn't be like, well, sorry, Jeff, I'm going to go over here. Treat your lead gen as an appointment. It really is true. Nobody can really argue, especially when you explain it that way. Well, I want to go at 1:00. I have another appointment at 1. I could be happy to take you at 2:30. No one can be like, well, cancel your appointment. Can't do it. So yeah, time block yourself out. It's the only way to stay sane. What else? What other ahas did we have?
Actually, mine was the same.
She stole yours.
But I would probably add one more to that is probably have an accountability partner to make sure that you do what you say and you say what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you guys ever have a great day? And I don't know if you guys could hear on the video, but having an accountability partner, that's your coach, right? But it could be anybody. It could be another agent. It could be your spouse. I had somebody one time that told their kid every month on the first of the month, they would tell their kid they were going to buy them something if they hit a goal. So I would say, Meatball, because I don't have kids, I'd say, Meatball, I'm going to buy you a new dog bone if I get 2 listing appointments this month. The kid ended up bothering her every day. She would like get home from the office and she'd be like, Mom, did you make your calls today? Mom, did you make your calls today? So it's still accountability, right? It's very easy for us to have sunny days and say, I'm going to make 100 calls every day this week and I can't wait and it's going to be amazing. And then you wake up the next day and it's rainy. And you say, oh, but I don't want to, right? So yeah, an accountability partner. Sometimes when you say something out loud to somebody, again, same thing. It's a matter of not wanting to disappoint the other person. And even we said that in the accountability group, remember? That some people were like, I was dreading coming in today because I didn't hit my 3 things I was supposed to do. So yeah, I agree. An accountability partner for sure. One more. Somebody give me one more. That's it. We only learned 2 things today.
So going back to where when you're making your phone calls or whatever, hey, in real estate type of thing or whatever, not a lot of times, but some people will say, well, I didn't know you handled that area. How do you?
Well, that's the thing is that's exactly why you're having these conversations. So if someone said, oh, I didn't know you worked in South Jersey. I mean, if you do, you do. If you don't, you could say, you know what? I honestly, Tom, I really don't. I stay in Monmouth County, so I really don't do Hoboken. However, I have a great guy that I've worked with that I'm friends with that I could refer you to. Right? Don't look down on referral business. It's wonderful. You give somebody a name and you get a check for 25%. Love it. It's a thing. But yeah, I would do that. I mean, don't stretch yourself too thin. My honest opinion is that anywhere you're comfortable going, you can sell, right? We're licensed for the state of New Jersey, so that's fine. My personal opinion, and like I always say, I'm never right, wrong, or anything else. But to me, if it's 2 hours away, I'm not going to drive there to show it all the time. I'd rather refer it out. If I feel that I'm not going to do the best for the client, I will find somebody who will. I'd rather take 25% than nothing. Because if I get the phone call, hey, Blake, can I see the house tonight at 6:30 and it's 2 hours away? It's going to ruin my day. So I'd rather just refer it out. But again, it's always a friend. Oh my God, I know the best agent in town. That's amazing. I'll have her call you right away, or I'll have them. I always say them. I'll have them call you right away. Then I hang up the phone, go on Mac Center, look up an agent in that town. It shows you their production, like how much they've been doing, and then send it out. I'll call and say, hey, Chiquita, listen, I got somebody for you. Listen, we're best friends, all right? And I'll send it over. 25% deal, good. So that's the way I handle that, for sure. All right, guys, anything else? Questions, concerns, complaints, compliments? Now we're good? All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Happy Friday.